Hello and welcome to California Energy Solutions program. I'm your host, David Esmaili. We're here today with Steve Daniel, Executive Vice President of Akeena Solar, to talk about solar power. Hello, Steve.
David,
welcome.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Well, I guess my first question would be, those solar panels on the roof, how do they take the sun power, and turn it into electricity? What's that process?
Well, it's a great question. We have a 93 million miles from the Earth. We have a huge nuclear generator called the sun. And the sun produces all of the energy that the Earth has. And what it does is essentially it sends out photons that reach us, and the photons hit the actual solar panel. Solar panels are made up of 2 layers of silicon, and it actually makes an electron jump from one layer of silicon to the other, and that creates energy potential. Essentially, that creates DC power on the rooftop from the solar panel. That energy is actually transferred via a wire down into what's called an inverter, which takes that energy and converts it from DC power to AC power, which is then fed into your home for usage.
So it's a chemical process within the solar panels themselves?
Yeah, it's actually an electronic process where it basically takes an electron and jumps it up one level. It goes from the negative to the positive. In that way, you're creating energy. And when that potential is released, it actually creates energy that's fed into your system.
Okay, so then how would I know that the solar is right for me? So, I mean, I hear a lot of people, it's a hot industry, a lot of people are buying, but how do I know that it's something that, and what is it that I need to look at to know that it's right for me? What are those factors?
Sure. So in a residential setting, people who have very small bills, like say $50 to $75 per month for electricity, it really is not appropriate. And the reason it's not appropriate is the way that electricity is charged, especially in California. We have a tiered rate structure. So people who use, it's a small amount of energy, are usually paying between 11 and 15 cents per kilowatt hour for their power, but people who have larger homes that are running swimming pools and air conditioning, they'll be paying up to 41 cents per kilowatt hour for their energy. So of course the payback is much quicker for a larger home. When we go to assess a house, we actually send somebody out, they look at 12 months of your electric bills, they look at your usage, they look at how your profile works on energy, and they'll make a determination as to what the payback will be. In California with the incentives, the payback can be as short as 5 or 6 years, as high as 12 years, and we will actually tell the client how that pays back. But it's being adopted by all kinds of homes. People are doing it for environmental reasons, they're doing it for economic reasons, and sometimes it's a combination of both. Businesses are also looking at this because the paybacks to businesses can be down to the 4 to 5 year period.
In this current economic situation that we're in, it's looking pretty bad right now. Is solar still a viable option in terms of putting it on my roof, being able to afford it and getting the benefits?
Absolutely. The paybacks, since they just instituted the 30% ITC tax credit at the federal level, the paybacks have actually become quicker. Energy prices tend to go up between 5 and 20% per year, depending on what category you're in. So the paybacks are actually getting more desirable for people. Also, the cost of solar panels and all the related technology is coming down. And we at Akeena are doing quite a bit about that. We've developed our own technology which lets us put systems on the roof more easily and more effectively. So we're helping to drive down that cost so that the economics become better, because as energy becomes more expensive and the cost of solar becomes less expensive, those lines are starting to cross much earlier now.
That's good. It leads me into my next question is, you're talking about driving down the cost of the technology. How is it that the industry is going to be cost competitive without the government subsidies? I know that the subsidies have been re-upped, at least at the federal level, for a number of years, but at a certain point, the industry is going to have to stand on its own. And what's being done to make that happen?
Sure, and I think it's almost any industry you look at, you have to create a lot of volume in the industry to get the prices to come down. That is happening. An awful lot of production of the raw silicon wafers was put into place the last 2 years. We're starting to see the net effect of that. Last year, most companies were paying between $3.50 and $4 per watt to buy from the large solar suppliers, so we would pay that price. The prediction is next year that might be down to the $2.50 to $3 range. At one time, a few years ago, panels were $2 per watt. Now they moved up because of the market, but now that there's a slightly oversupply of silicon on the marketplace, those prices will start to come down. There's also technologies like thin film, which are less expensive. There's companies like Cylinder making all kinds of different technologies. So there's a lot of investment from the VC community, literally billions of dollars from people like Kleiner Perkins and other VCs in the Valley being poured into this to find ways to make solar more accessible to more people and less expensive to the marketplace.
You're talking about some of the thin film and different things. What are some of the technological innovations that we see coming down the way? One is the thin film, but what are some of the other things that we can expect to see in the not too distant future?
So thin film is pretty prevalent now. There's two different kinds. There's cadmium telluride and there's SIGs. There's two different kinds of thin film. The price is lower, but it's not quite as efficient as what we produce, which is traditional silicon panels. So they have different applications. They work very well in the desert when you have a lot of space. They don't work very well on a small rooftop in most residential settings. So those technologies are coming. There's concentrated photovoltaic companies like Sol Focus, also in Silicon Valley, producing that. So there's a number of different areas, and different types of technologies work in different settings. On homes, mostly photovoltaic is the way to go. Big, large station type situations, they'll use tracking technology to actually follow the sun and get more production. And it really is different applications for different situations. There's also wind power, which we're not going to talk about today, but you wouldn't put a windmill in your backyard. It's more appropriate for fields like, say, in the desert. So all these different technologies are coming. There's a lot of, we call it incubator technology right now that's being funded by the VCs. We don't know what that technology is because they have to keep it quiet. The websites are not even shown on the internet, but there's a lot of stuff cooking with the investment being made today.